so excited to share what our project is all about today. I'm Jessica,
I'm Anabelle.
and today we'll be going over Filipinas of HamOnt video interview series. So, what the project is about is basically having conversations with Filipinas in HamOnt, whether you are born and raised in Hamilton, or just passing by, or in between, or a naturalized citizen, or a long timer, whatever that looks like, just in Hamilton. And we are interviewing Filipinas. So, the project is really about just sharing these conversations, putting them on the website and finding ways in which you will resonate with them, or you have shared experiences, or whatever that may look like. And then it's about bringing us all together and really trying to find a way to authentically have conversations, community, collaboration, and just putting it all together on one platform. So maybe we'll go into a bit about like how it started. Annabelle?
So how did we start? Jessica and I attended a workshop sponsored by the YWCA Hamilton, the City of Hamilton, and Ward 3 Councilor Narinder Nunn. It's called Reaching for Power, and it allows BIPOC, the Black, Indigenous, people of color, and non-binary individuals to understand more our power and how we can effect change in our own communities. So Jessica and I met there, and we realized that we share the same interests in knowing where the Filipinas are in Hamilton. We both know that there are a lot of Filipinos migrating to Canada, a lot of Filipinos in Hamilton, starting from the 1960s, but we feel that we don't really have a community of Filipinas where we can talk about bigger issues affecting us as immigrants here, issues affecting Canada as a whole, or understanding what the history is or what is the situation back in the Philippines.
We know there's a lot of Toronto-based organizations that do a lot of work within the Filipino community that talk about this specific conversations that we would like to address. Whereas in Hamilton, we noticed that we couldn't find these conversations. So that's, what we are inviting, we are welcoming, we want you to be part of the conversations.
I think Jess calls it our passion project. Like, we devote a little bit of ourselves to it to understand more about our heritage and to give back to the community where we are part of, as being part of Canada, being part of Hamilton, and being part of our heritage as Filipinos. I think it's a lot. We can move on to the next, the next piece in our introduction. Who are we?
So who are we? So I'm Jessica. I'm a second generation Filipina. I was born and raised in Hamilton. I'm a recent Brock University graduate. So I'm an Ontario certified teacher. And during Teachers College, I founded Redefine 20, which is a community-based organization focused on youth and BIPOC women committed to anti-racist and anti-bias practices of education. And this year I was also nominated as the YWCA Women of Distinction Award, which was amazing. And in relation to this project, and going off of what Anabelle was saying, growing up in Hamilton, I was part of a lot of Filipino-based community organizations, that being the Basketball Association. I was in Filipino school. I was part of a pageant and also a Christian group as well. And within these spaces, I felt like find ways in which I could relate or build connections. So that really took me on a path of like, am I Filipino enough? What does it mean to be a Filipina in Hamilton as a second generation? And what does that look like for me? What does that look like for future generations? And Anabelle will also discuss her daughter as well. So like, what does that look like for the future generations and the conversations that we're having? So with this project, it was really about having those conversations. For the first time, I read a book by a Filipino author. And as an English teacher, it took me a second to really take in how I haven't read any Filipino art authors. I'm also passionate about art, and I didn't know any Filipino artists or anything really about the history. So that also in also building a sense of community and talking to other Filipinas, that it kind of really just brought all of this out. I know it sounds like a lot, but I think based off of my and what I'm doing with Redefine 20 really kind of encompasses Filipinos of HamOnt and what it means to me. Everything that Anabelle does has really helped shape my understanding of what it means to be Filipino. Really welcoming me to read more texts and dive into the history and have these conversations. So I would let her introduce herself.
Yeah, what's interesting, I think, with my partnership with Jess for our project Filipinas of HamOnt is that we represent, in a way, different generations. And I was born in the Philippines, and Jess was born here. But it's interesting that I have seen a lot of her curiosity also mirroring mine for what my daughter will possibly ask as well when she's a bit older. I taught undergraduate courses in politics for almost a decade. Later on, like the story of a lot of Filipinos, I ventured overseas. I worked in international development programming positions in Germany, in Egypt, and in Indonesia. These international movements made me consider Canada because I heard from some of my colleagues that they were applying, so I applied too. But Hamilton has been home on and off since 2012, but Canada since 2009. I started my family here in Canada. Connecting my background to this project, I feel that my contribution to the Filipinas of HamOnt is to pay homage to countless Filipinas and Filipinos before me who sacrificed and fought for the rights I have today. And also to pay it forward with my time and talents, so my young daughter and other next generation Filipina Canadians here in Hamilton can have more strength to achieve better futures here for themselves and for fellow Filipinas everywhere. It sounds so idealistic, but I'm sure a lot of us out there have our own idealism that we're nurturing. And Jessica and I are inviting you to share your idealisms with us, to share your stories of strength, your stories of encouragement with us.
I feel like a lot of Filipinas of HamOnt is a lot to encompass, because I think there's so many things that we want to unpack, that we want to discuss, that we want to have to read, to listen, to dive into. I feel like there's so many things, and I think it's because of not having those conversations previously. And maybe that's just our experience. Maybe others have had that opportunity to have these conversations. And we invite you also to please engage in the conversations with us as well. Conversations or the interviews that we've had with our guests on our website, and we will be uploading a few every month. And then we would love to see like where that goes or what the needs are. So please reach out. So if you do see like, oh, I really love what this person said, and I would love to see that project come to life, or I'd want to do more with it. This isn't a project just for Anabelle and I. This is very based in community, based off of the needs of the community, and really creating a sense of a community where we collaboratively cultivate a sense of what we want to define or redefine what being Filipina in HamOnt means.
I think it bears mentioning that when we started the Filipinas of HamOnt project in June 2020, we were a few months into government enforced closures of establishment and restrictions in movements because of the COVID 19 pandemic. It has been 5 months since, and we have seen how it has created havoc among families, their incomes, and even for a lot of people, lives lost. The Filipinas of HamOnt came out of this context. The conversations that we have started with the Filipinas in Hamilton and that we share here in this platform has become our witness statements on our struggles, on how we are coping, and of what we are looking forward to. Even if we are only a slice of the Filipino community in Hamilton, and we understand we do not speak for everyone's circumstances here. But what we know is that Filipinos, along with racialized populations in Canada, have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic. According to a Statistics Canada survey between June 2020, Filipino Canadians have experienced job losses at 40%. 40%. In Hamilton, reflecting what is also happening across cities in Canada, people of color make up roughly 50% of Hamilton's COVID 19 cases. And we have to remember that caregivers, personal support workers, and healthcare workers in Hamilton and in Canada are overwhelmingly Filipina. While they usually occupy the lower end of the wage scale, they are disproportionately at higher risks of contracting COVID 19. We are aware that conversations which we are beginning here do not solve the bigger systemic issues a lot of Filipinas face, that a lot of hardworking Canadians face. We need to do more than this. That is why all the more that we need to start understanding how we can stand up for our communities. This is only the beginning, and we hope you can join us.